We are back at the Grand Courtyard Marriott downtown Oakland.
Nice
Tim
spot
Kawakami's
now.
favorite
nice
spot. We
nice
were
and
posh.
quiet. Nice and quiet.
I know, right? We were posh 1 week in Palo Alto, but we're back in my stomping grounds in Oakland. And Steph Curry,
who I just saw, by the way, leaving the practice court.
Did you?
Driving out. Pretty late, too. He's not playing at night.
Nah, he's not playing. But I did have a conversation with Steph, and he is...
He caused a little stir there, Marcus.
It's so funny. I'm like, Steph, I'll see you in 2018. And he's like, why wouldn't I play if I'm 100% on Christmas Day? And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? They've just put out the release.
Yeah.
You'll be reevaluated in a week, which is Tuesday, which means you're out Monday. He's like, but if I'm 100%, and he just wouldn't.
No.
He wasn't ready to say, I'm out for Christmas Day. And then I couldn't help but think, here we are again. We're back here. And no matter what, this is funny because this is the most chill season, right? If you have a cough, Steve is like, sit down, rest. And everybody gets
He's going
this.
to rest me tonight, by the way. I'm
Right?
a little under the weather, but we're fighting through.
Everybody gets this.
Yep.
And here's Steph trying
with his ankle, of all things, in December.
The more things change.
Yeah,
Isn't that funny, though?
Yeah, but that's who he is. And I think it's also when he's talking to you because he's a little more comfortable in that moment. 11:45 at night? What was
We
that?
ended at 11:45
yeah,
at night.
I know I got the message from you. Hey, I got Steph. I go, okay.
Well, you got that message because you totally didn't respond.
I ignore anything after 11, basically. Because I know it isn't going to come in for a while.
Oh yeah, no, that was just telling you. That was just a heads up. I hope you weren't thinking it was 12:30.
I knew that. That's why I shut it down.
I'm glad you're well trained.
I wasn't sitting there at 11:52 going, oh, "Where's Marcus's story?" But I think that he's still competitive. This is what makes him great. He doesn't want to sit. Doesn't want to say this big, huge national platform game that Draymond's making it back for, by the way, and that LeBron's out there, and the season sets up for this to be the big first game, and I won't be there. He wants to tell himself he's got a shot, even if he really knows that it's not. He wants to have that edge on him, and maybe a little chip on his shoulder, and maybe so when he gets back for the game after that or the game after that, there's a little edge to it. But that's good for him. It was good for Durant, by the way, to miss those games last year. Just kind of, oh, yeah, you guys still going to win without me? That's great, but you're going to be even better with me. That whole thing drives these great competitors.
I was wondering, I told Steph I don't want to see you before 2018. Like, for me, there's no point in him playing before the turn of the calendar.
Just because it's a Christmas game, don't make it because it's the Christmas game, I'm going to make it questionable.
No, but this is a big deal for them, right?
This
is the stage. I was thinking, what's the comp? Is this like playing on Thanksgiving Day in football?
Yeah, or bigger.
Yeah, it seems like it would be bigger than that. It's not quite playing in a playoff game, but it's probably the next best thing.
Yeah, it's like that opening Thursday game in the NFL. Because it's just when everyone's like, oh, yeah, this counts. Now this is when it really counts. And it's Christmas, and they know, and they see the promos, and ESPN's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. It's the LeBron. It's just... it's big. I understand it's big, but I just think that's the push and pull with Steph. He just doesn't want to write it off. He just, he just doesn't want to do that. He wants to go through the process of fighting to get it back, and then maybe he won't play. Maybe Bob Myers has to restrain him from playing, but he won't play.
How does Steve play this? Because Steve is like, you're not like Draymond said today after shoot around that he tried to play, and Steve was like, no, you're not playing, and. Like there's this line of, you're my guy. I want to do things for you that you will like, right? He likes these guys. Remember Kevin Durant? He's like, hey man, Kevin, you gonna sit out this space? He's like, nah, I can only sit 2 minutes. Yeah. So there's this.
Or I'm playing the Oklahoma City game.
Yeah, absolutely, right, no question. And I wonder how Steve plays this. Is he hard line with Steph Curry? Like, I will see you January 3rd in Dallas. Or is he like, yeah, I know you've been working hard, and I know you're dying to get back on the court. I'll give you this bone.
No. I think this early in the season.
It's so early, right?
He just says the doctors say we'll reevaluate. We're going to reevaluate. It's easy for him to say that. This is not my decision. It's the doctor's decision. And also, if you think about it, if he lets this one go, then Steph's going to have his way on every single time for the rest of his career, which he might
That's
anyway.
like you owe me from Portland.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play in Game 3.
There's a whole lot of things going on.
I mean, how many times have they been through this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, you wrote about him like, well, yeah, okay, I remember that one. I remember that one. Well, of course, Portland was the knee and all that other stuff.
And he's
It wasn't
trying
it,
to
you know.
play. Remember Houston?
And by the way, Marcus now writes every injury is an ankle injury. Every injury that
injury.
everybody has, I have to say,
Hey.
well, wait a minute. Derek Carr did not have an ankle injury. I'm going to have to change this now.
It's like Draymond out with an ankle injury.
Yeah, I know. Got Steve Kerr ankle injury.
Tim Kawakami's out with an ankle.
So what are you doing here, Marcus? Is it like just Steph's injury isn't everybody's injury?
Do you think there's anything to, they don't have a point guard. Livingston's been out. I guess he might come back. But there's a lot of load on Durant just to be a playmaker. Is there anything to, all right, we understand resting these guys, but it is extra on Kevin Durant. So we might want Steph back just to minimize
Eventually, yeah, absolutely. There are tons. I mean, usage, we talk about all that. But I think Iguodala coming back will be a big lift to that. Yeah, and Draymond for sure. But Iguodala, just because he can play all the different spots that Durant plays, specifically defensively, and he can distribute. And I think we've seen Durant really have to turn it up. He's turned it up the whole time with Steph's out, but when Andre's been out and Steph's out, that's when Durant just has to go make a play, go make 5 plays a quarter by himself. So that's something that I think, a week or more is about the limit of this, and if that's when it's going to be.
2018 is Steph Curry's return. We've got Jason Lloyd, editor-in-chief of The Athletic Cleveland. He's also Cleveland Cavaliers beat writer, and Tim, he is in the club of authors with me. And is there any other authors? It's just me and Jason Lloyd.
Somebody wrote a book on Oscar De La Hoya.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I noticed how you stole the title of my book, by the way.
In 1999.
Yeah, right. Stole the title of my book. We got Jason Lloyd coming up on Warriors Plus Minus.
Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to play.
All right, so we've got, first off, we have one of our comrades in the Athletic gang. What's up, editor-in-chief, Jason Lloyd? I almost said the other place you used to work for. You're so synonymous with that other place, but you're one of us now, man. Welcome to the podcast.
I am. Thank you for having me.
Actually, we're one of you now, right? You were on before us. That's
true.
right.
That is
Yeah,
true.
that's right. We were here first. We're here in March.
How do you like it so far?
I love it. I'm not just saying it. It's the best job I ever had. I absolutely love working here. I love the freedom we have. I love what they allow us to do. It's been great.
And Jason was one of the people I turned to when I was considering this job. And so I could blame Jason if it all was bad, but I'm not going to blame it all because everything you said is true. And it's been fantastic, and I appreciate the help you gave me when I was thinking about this. So
I tried to talk to Jason, but he blew me off. You remember that, Jason?
I do remember that. I felt terrible about that because by the time I called you back, you'd already made a decision.
I know, right? It was good. Look, the fact that you blew me off, I knew that you were busy, and I knew that meant you were doing great work, so we were good. I was like, yeah, he's too good to return calls. This job
He's
must be
getting
great.
calls from LeBron. He's
I know,
getting
right?
calls from Tyronn Lue.
No, that was all on me. That was one of my worst moments was not calling you back. I felt terrible about that, but you made the right decision.
I already know how you are anyway. I know you're on top of it, so we were good.
Marcus just said, okay, he's not calling me back. It's another $20,000 I want on my salary.
That's all I did.
Another
That's all I did,
another 20.
Jay. So, look, are you excited about a 4th straight Christmas Day game between the Warriors and Cavaliers, or is it old?
No, it's not old because I absolutely love the Bay Area, so I'm all for it. Like the Cleveland Beat guys were talking about it. We love the area. We love coming out. So we could keep this going as many years as they want because the Bay Area in June that's a good place to be. So we're not at all tired of this by any means.
So you saying the weather is a little bit different?
A little bit different in Cleveland than it is in San Francisco. Today it's actually warm. It's like 41 today. That's warm and rainy. So it was like cold last week. It was really cold. So a little bit warmer today. But But yeah, we're looking forward to getting out of here and going west for a few days next week.
Well, where are the Cavs right now, kind of mentally? I look at their starting lineup is a little different, it's a little different like almost every night. Who do you expect them to start on Christmas? And like what are the matchups you're looking at? Is it Crowder on Durant? Is it what are we looking at that might be a little different about this Cavaliers team going into the Christmas game?
Yeah, it is a different team. It's of course obviously no Kyrie first of all, and no Isaiah. Isaiah has been ruled out because of his hip, so they're going to go with Jose Calderon, which
the former Warrior, Jose
steady.
Calderon.
Oh, what? Can we call him a former Warrior? Like he was there for like 30
He's
seconds.
going to get the ring presentation.
18 minutes.
Yeah, Draymond going to give a speech and present him the ring.
It's funny. I just talked to him last night. I haven't written it yet, but I just talked to him last night about that ordeal and how crazy it was for him. And really, he almost signed with Cleveland last year. He was like, the deal was done. He was coming here, and then Jared Williams worked his buyout in order to come here. So Jose got frozen out here, and then he was all set to go to Golden State. And then Kevin gets hurt, and he gets frozen out of Golden State. Yeah. So a really awkward situation for him last year. He's fit in really well here, very steady. I think everyone knows he's not a good defender. That's well known. But he's shooting 50% on threes. He's a great catch-and-shoot guy. He can handle the ball well, doesn't turn it over. So he's just steady. So that's a he's not a star. He's not going to win him any games, but he's not going to lose him any games. I would expect J.R. Smith is going to be back. J.R. missed last night with a sore knee. With all the time off, Cavs are done playing now till Christmas. Last night was their last game, so they're off until Monday. All that time off, I would think J.R. Smith is going to be okay to go. And then beyond that, it's going to be LeBron, Jay Crowder, and Kevin Love. And Jay's the piece that Jay Crowder's really struggling to fit in with what the Cavs are doing. And he was a guy who, when they made the trade for Kyrie, everyone looked at Jay and said, that's exactly what they need to play Golden State, because finally they've got a big physical wing, someone else to guard Kevin besides LeBron. Because you remember last year they had Richard Jefferson.
Yep.
Was the other guy who was begging Ty Lue, saying, put me on him. It's not fair to LeBron, everything that we're asking LeBron to do. Put me on, give me a couple minutes and give LeBron a blow, and don't make him guard him. Well, the Cavs have options this year, and that's what I think they're most excited about in the matchup against the Warriors, is they can throw LeBron on Kevin. They can run Jay Crowder at Kevin. They can run Jeff Green at Kevin. Jeff has been a really nice find for them. Ty Lue was really excited in Vegas in Summer League when they signed him. Ty had Jeff in Boston. He was an assistant. The two are really close. Ty recruited him to come here on a minimum deal. And, Jeff had the worst season of his career last year. And we couldn't figure out why Ty was so excited to bring this guy here, and now we see it. He's a triple threat guy. He can dribble, pass, shoot. He's a big body. It's somebody else he can throw on Kevin. I think the Cavs are at their best. And again, I think this is more in line of what if we're talking about a final series rather than just a Christmas Day game. But I think the Cavs are at their best when they can put LeBron on Draymond and somebody else on Kevin. And I kept saying that all last year, and everyone kept telling me, no, you're wrong. They have to put LeBron on Kevin.
They can't.
And then finally, lo and behold, and I'm wrong more times than I'm right. Like, this is now me beating my chest, because I'm wrong more than I'm right, and I admit every time I'm wrong. But this is an instance where LeBron is a better fit on Draymond. And to me, Draymond can hurt you in so many different ways. Kevin's going to score. He's going to get his, and he's going to score and score and score. But when Draymond is facilitating, that's where he's killing the Cavs. So I think they're at their best when they've got LeBron on Draymond and they've got somebody else to throw at Kevin. The problem is Jay has just not fit into the system. He's really struggled with this. I talked a couple weeks ago about it, and Jay said he comes from very rigid, structured systems. Rick Carlisle in Dallas, Brad Stevens in Boston, they have a certain way that they play, and everyone adapts to it. And Ty Lue is not like that. Ty is very much matchup-oriented, and it's game to game. And one night may be your night, and the next night's not. And Jay's having a hard time with that. He's having a hard time figuring out where he fits and what his role is. So I'm curious to see how he responds to what will obviously be the most intense game of the season that they've played. He has not played well this year. His shot's coming around a little bit, but he just hasn't played well. So I'm curious to see how he fits into this game. It's only one game. It's a Christmas game. But I'm interested to see how he fares against Kevin in this series, or in this game.
What's really standing out to me, Jason, is this matchup. Even though they've met each other so much, it's still so different. There's so many new pieces, so many new elements. So we do kind of get some freshness to the series this time around. One of the parts that really – I'm really curious to see how it works out. I know Tristan Thompson just kind of got back from injury. His minutes are way down. Obviously, he's dealt with coming off the bench, but he's been a Warriors killer, right? He's been one of the unsolvable problems that they've had to deal with. They kind of figured it out a little bit last year, run him off the court a little bit, but do you see him kind of refinding his role against the Warriors, specifically in this game, or is he still kind of a guy that might be in, might be out, or we don't know what we're getting from him?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think he's still on some sort of minutes limit. It keeps going up gradually. He's starting to round back into shape. He's starting to get back into being the player that he was. But, calf injuries take a lot out of you. Some people think, like, what's the big deal with a calf injury? But they can really set you back, especially in basketball. So he's still trying to get back to the level that he was. And, a couple of years ago, Tristan had said, this is well before Cavs Warriors became a thing. It was earlier in his career. And we were talking about guys that are tough matchups for him. And he said Zaza was the toughest matchup for him just because he's such a wide body and it's hard for him to get around him. It's hard for him to move around him. And I think we saw that last year in that series. Because you're right. In the year the Cavs won the championship, Tristan was huge for them. And last year he was pretty much basically a non-factor. So I think with the Cavs, and again, it goes back to what I was just talking about a minute ago, the versatility that they have. If they want to go with a defensive lineup, they can go with Tristan at center. If they want to go with an offensive lineup, they can put Kevin at center. And I think Kevin is better at center than he is at forward for them in this series. I think that's a matchup that they'll take because that's the big question every year is what are we going to do with Draymond? And Kevin can't guard Draymond. So what do we do? Well, I think that this helps them out a little bit if they can put Kevin at center, and that may keep Tristan off the floor. But, the Cavs have just so many different combinations that they can go to now between Dwayne Wade and J.R. Smith and LeBron. Isaiah, if we're talking a final series, obviously not Monday, but in the final series, Isaiah, if he's healthy, Jeff Green, they just have more options to mix and match, whereas in the years past, the Cavs have been a very specialized roster. They had two guys who could dribble past the shoe, in Kyrie and LeBron, and everyone else who just stood there and waited for the ball. And it was very frustrating for Ty to coach that way just because they just didn't have any creators. And I think now they feel like they've got a few more guys who can create for others. It's a little bit more flexible of a roster. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know what to expect out of Tristan on Monday. I don't know how far along he is in his recovery. He looked really rough early, and he's had a decent game or two here lately. So I know he'll be ready to play Monday. These guys can say it doesn't mean anything, and I agree with that. What we see Monday has nothing to do with what we'll see in June, but it's still Cavs Warriors, and it's going to be an intensity level much higher than a normal regular season game.
Let's say maybe even beyond Christmas when Isaiah is in there, I assume he's starting. What's that second unit going to be, do you think? We've always talked when LeBron comes out, it's, a minus. And they can't sustain it because he's got to come right back in, and that wears down LeBron. We're talking about maybe Isaiah, Wade, Jeff Green, Korver second unit. Is that how they're kind of looking at it? Maybe.
Yeah, Isaiah's going to be the starter, and Dwayne has really taken to this running the second unit and having the ball in his hands. It allows him to play the way he's comfortable and used to playing. When he was starting, I talked to him a couple weeks ago about it, and when he was starting, he said, I'm just running up and down the floor. I'm not doing anything. I'm just running up and down the court for 26 minutes a night. And he said, I'm a rhythm player, and if I don't have the ball in my hands, then I can't get into a rhythm. And he wasn't touching the ball at all. He was not the first option. He was not the second option. And that was a hard adjustment for him. But now, bringing him off the bench, he is running that unit. So I would suspect that when Isaiah's back and healthy, the second unit you're going to see most often is Dwayne, LeBron. Ty likes to keep LeBron on that second unit. He brings him out. Might bring him out with a couple minutes left in the first quarter and put him right back in and run with the reserves. So I think the bulk of the second unit you'll see is Dwayne, LeBron, Jeff Green, as of now, Tristan Thompson, and Kyle Korver, and some combination of those five guys. Ty has talked all along about wanting to go 10 deep. And then he's kind of conceded at times that it's really hard to go 10. Now, remember, this is a Cavs team that couldn't go really beyond 7 in final series of the past. So they certainly have more depth about them now. I don't know that he's going to go that deep in a playoff series. I don't see him playing quite that many. But it's hard for me to pick out who's not going to play out of that group either because Dwayne's going to be on the floor. We've already talked about Jeff's value to this team and how well he's playing. And Kyle.
That's the guy I ain't buying it. Jeff Green's the one who's gonna be out. I ain't buying it. I ain't falling for the banana tailpipe, Jason.
Well, here's the thing. So the knock on Jeff is he's going to play great for 3 games and then he's going to disappear for 2. That's been the knock on Jeff his entire career. But in the role that Kai has used him this year, in the limited minutes that he's had, we haven't really seen that. He's been fairly consistent. And I can tell you, like, Kai is a huge proponent of Jeff. So we'll see. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say 100% absolutely he's going to be in that rotation. We'll see. But he's played really well to this point, and he's had 1 or 2 clunker games, but no more than any normal NBA player. But, you know, when they sign him, that's what everyone told me is, you know, Jeff is so inconsistent. He looks like a star for 3, 4, 5 games in a row, and then he absolutely vanishes. And that's the frustrating part about him. But with the role he's in the minutes that he's been in, that hasn't been the case with him so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see it. He's got the talent. I have to see him put it together. Maybe he is. I was curious about, you know, LeBron's on pace for another 2,700 minutes. He's up. He's on the court all the time. It feels like. Is it less because he's such a shooter now? I mean, his career high 3-point percentage, effective field goal percentage, true shooting percentage. Like, his shoot numbers are so high. Are these minutes lighter on him because he now is an outside shooter, so to speak?
Yeah, he is shooting the 3-ball better, but he's still attacking. He's still attacking just as much as ever. He still lives in the paint. That's his game. He's not. He was talking about his frustrations recently about how he feels like the officials are trying to make him into a jump shooter because he doesn't get the calls inside. And he says, "I'm not a jump shooter. I'll never be a jump shooter." LeBron is. There is no explanation for the way he's playing other than he is just a freak of nature. Because a person at 33 years old, 15 years in the league, should not be performing the way that he's performing. And he says he feels great. And I talked to him about his routine, and he said he takes his wife to Napa at the end of August is her birthday, and they go to Napa every summer for her birthday to celebrate. And then when he comes home, he shifts into training mode, and he takes the entire month of September, and he does 3-a-days of just workouts the whole month of September. And his body is in unbelievable shape. And, you know, I thought he was starting to wear down a couple of years ago. His first year back in Cleveland, he was having back problems. He was having knee problems. He's getting stronger the older he gets. And it's hard to explain. It's very strange. It's something that we've never seen before. And, you know, I wrote the other day that LeBron loves to say Father Time's undefeated, but he's giving it one hell of a fight. Because
sounds like a new chapter in the blueprint, huh?
Yeah, right? Nobody should be able to perform at the level he's performing at the age he has, with the miles that he has on him. But he swears he feels great. The minutes thing, he gets tired of talking about it. He isn't. They don't ask a ton out of him defensively, and this team never practices, ever. I mean, they have 2 days off after the Warriors game. They go to Sacramento on the 27th, and then they have 2 days off before they play Utah on the 30th. And I told LeBron, we were in Atlanta, and I was joking with him. I said, you know, 29 teams in the league, if they had 2 off days, would at least fake a practice at some point. The Cavs are going to Napa for the day. They're getting on the bus after the Sacramento game, and they're busing into Napa. And they will be in Napa on the 28th, fly to Utah on the 29th. They never practice. The fact that they practice today and they're going to practice Sunday is rare. Like, I can't remember the last time that they had 2 practices in a row. It had to be the preseason. It had to be training camp the preseason the last time that they practiced 2 days in a row. But it's just a quirk in the schedule. They had 4 days off between games, and the fact that it is the Warriors on Christmas Day, so they're going to take this one a little more seriously. But it's just, this team never practices. So that helps. The wear and tear that he doesn't have in practice. The shoot-arounds are very light. So really all this team does is they just show up and put their uniforms on and play games, and that's it.
You know, the question you always got to bring up LeBron, I'm sure you've become tired of this years ago, but does this, the way he's performing at this stage in his career, maybe change the dynamics of what he might do in the offseason? I've looked at it saying, you know, why not just do another year in Cleveland and then take a look at it next, not this summer, but the summer after that? Do you think that's maybe more likely, the way he approaches it, because he's playing so well right now?
He could. I have absolutely no idea what he's going to do. I've talked to him a lot about it over the course of the last week or so. We've had good discussions about it. And he's not really tipping his hand. Even off the record, he's not really tipping his hand one way or the other. I think he really does want to let this play out. I think he wants to see how this roster competes against Golden State. I felt like last year after Game 2, I felt like he knew they couldn't win that series. And I don't think he feels that now. I think I shouldn't say that. I don't know. Because this team isn't as good 1-2 as they were. I'd take Kyrie over a healthy Isaiah every day of the week. So I don't think this team is as good at the top as it was last year, but it's certainly deeper. So I think he wants to give this roster an opportunity to see what they can do together. I don't know how long Dwayne plans on staying in Cleveland. I don't get the impression it's going to be very long. This might be a one-year thing for him. The fact that Dwayne's a free agent, I think Dwayne's probably resolved himself to being a league minimum guy from here on out for the rest of his career. So, if he can hold out a year, if it really is important to him, I don't know how truly it is important to him to play with Dwayne and Carmelo and Chris. But if he does go back and sign for one more year and they can line up to where they all enter free agency at the same time, that may be something that he looks at. I've gone back and forth on it. There have been moments where I thought he was definitely leaving, and there's been moments where I felt like he was staying. He said on media day that he's staying. We can't really put anything into that. What else is he going to say? Of course he's going to say he's staying. So I don't know. I think a lot of it's going to have to do with how this team performs in June and how the season ends, and he'll reevaluate the field at that time. I think I could make a stronger case for him leaving if I could make a case of where he would go that would give him a better chance to win. And I have outside of, Houston, which has already been out there, I have a hard time seeing him go to Philadelphia. That doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, if he stays in the East, he has an easier path to get to the finals and to keep his streak intact. Anywhere he goes in the West, that just doesn't make sense to me. To wrestle the Warriors, to have to get to the finals, he takes a lot of pride in the streak. That's on 7 years. If they do it again this year, it'd be 8 in a row. He takes pride in that streak, and I think he'd like to see that stay intact. So I'm not sure yet. I can't tell you in December where the best place is to keep that going.
So I'm sure you've watched a lot of Warriors basketball so far. They haven't had 4 of their 5 starters for a while now, so it's probably not a good sense of how they're playing. But from what you've seen, do they look vulnerable at all? Do they look as dominant as you expected? This matchup that we're going to see on Monday, is there any drama to it at all, especially after the Warriors won in 5 last year?
They look kind of bored to me. And I don't know, Dwayne said something interesting in training camp, and I think this applies to the Warriors. And Dwayne said that last year in Miami, we had no business going to the finals. Indiana should have beaten us, but we had the mental edge over them, and that's how we got back there. But he said, after 4 years together, you're tired of looking at each other. Your jokes aren't funny anymore, and it just got old. And I think we saw that in that team. Now, this Warriors team is different. I think that Miami team had different personalities, it had a different culture about it. So I don't think it's apples to apples. But the fact that, they had Kevin in last year, that obviously gave them a huge jolt both on and off the court. But once you win that ring, I've talked to guys, and you can say whatever you want about trying to do it again, but you lose a little bit of your edge once you win that ring. And the fact that they won it last year, I fully expect them to be back in the finals. I just think they've had a ton of injuries, first of all, no question about it. And I think they're probably a little bit bored with the process. Listen, I'm 2,000 miles away on the other side of the country. What do I know? But that's just what I see. I've seen some of that before with this Cavs team. And that's why it doesn't really, the whole 4 years together thing doesn't totally apply to the Cavs this time around, because half the roster is new. They've turned over so many new pieces. This isn't the same team that they've had together year in and year out, where, the Kevin addition was obviously huge last year, but for the most part, this feels like a roster that's been intact for this entire run. And it's hard to get up. When you've won 2 of the last 3 and you're the best team in the league, it's hard to get up, I would have to imagine, for a January game in Milwaukee or a home game against the Kings or whatever the case may be. I think they're probably battling a little bit of boredom.
Maybe the entire month of January sometimes for these guys.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, last season was all about the motivation for Kevin Durant. This year, they got to win one for Nick Young. That's what's driving them.
Swaggy
get
P,
the ring
the
for
Swaggy
Nick
P
Young.
title.
I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
All right.
So by the way, as a fellow author, of an epic,
Yes, sir.
epic bestseller, I'm kind of including Tim here.
Maybe fake.
How has life changed since the Blueprint dropped?
It hasn't really. It really
This is the part
hasn't.
where you say, "Man, I was at the Playboy Mansion," and
man, I'm too old for that junk. It was enjoyable to do it. Obviously, I grew up in Cleveland. I know the area well. I know what the fans have been through here. So to be able to deliver that story, I'm the only person who covered the Cavs from the day LeBron left until the day he came back. So I had the whole story, and I'm the only person that had the entire story of what they went through in the 4 years LeBron was in Miami. And that was really just the book is the 4 years LeBron was in Miami and everything that was going on in Cleveland to try and position themselves to get him back. So it was a lot of fun to write. It was not a lot of fun to write while traveling to 41 road games a year. So finding time to write it, as I'm sure you know, was incredibly difficult. There was a couple all-nighters. There was a lot of hotel writing on the road.
way more
I'm
difficult than
thrilled
you knew, right? Like no way you.
Yeah.
Like when you're planning, it's like, yeah, I can do this, and then you got to do it. It's like, what the hell did I do?
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. Like I had to skip All-Star Weekend last year in New Orleans. I was still at the Akron-Beacon Journal at the time, and we sent my backup because had I not taken that week off to write, the book may still not be done. So I needed that week to lock the door, clear the room, and just pound it all out. And that's how I finished it. Was over All-Star Weekend. It was really when I finished all the way the chapters except for the epilogue. But it was great. It was a great process. Enjoyed it. Not sure I want to do it again, but to do it once and cross off the bucket list was a lot of fun.
All right, listen. From one editor-in-chief to the Athletic to another, just got to say, love the stuff Cleveland's doing. Great to have you on. Thank you for your wisdom in telling me this was a pretty good place, and I think we all feel that. Each city gets stronger and stronger and makes us all stronger, and I think we're growing a little bit too. My understanding is we're growing a little bit.
We're doing all right, huh, Jason?
Yeah. People sign up every now and then. We're doing okay. You guys are killing it in the Bay. I keep an eye on everything you guys are doing out there. Love what you guys are doing. We're finally hitting our stride. We had a huge series this week on the Browns. Kind of a deep dive on
that
why
story
they are
was
so
good.
dysfunctional.
Man, that owner, man.
Wow.
That was pretty powerful. Pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah. We took about 6 weeks. We put one of our best reporters on it, and he just went to town. And it turned out really, really well. We're really happy with it, and hopefully we can do more like it in the future.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it, and enjoy the Bay until you have to go back to 4 degrees.
Are you going to go to Napa? Are you going to be driving around Napa with LeBron?
He's an editor-in-chief.
Oh, we're going to Napa. You better believe it.
He's an editor-in-chief.
McMenamin and I are getting in the car. We're driving from Sacramento to Napa after the game on the 27th. We'll be there.
Of course you will be. That's what EICs do.
Yep.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yep.
We appreciate it.
All right, Jason, thanks.
All right, I'll see you guys on Monday.
I know you think it was hilarious that they're dependent on Jeff Green.
Yeah, you notice I stayed silent for that when I laid out. I want to respect Ty, who I covered, by the way, when he was with the Lakers. But please, I was going to be rude and just say, the Warriors love this conversation. Play Jeff Green more. They might let Jeff Green have a good game on Monday just to make sure that he plays against them in the playoffs, because that's not a player who's going to hurt the Warriors. Although KD likes him.
You just solidified the Jeff Green revenge
yeah,
series in the finals.
36.
You just nailed it.
Game 3, he's going for 42.
He's going to go off in the finals now.
I'll
remember this moment, Warriors Plus Minus listeners. This was the day the Warriors lost the finals to Jeff Green.
One thing I do want people to realize is the players that I'm the first one to say are not good players, and I get all this anger. When have I ever been wrong? Just go back through at least these players. When have I ever been wrong? I was one of the first people to say Jeff Green is terrible. And what happened? Derek Williams is a terrible player, not in the NBA anymore. Terrence Jones, terrible player. Now people are pumping up in Santa Cruz.
Man.
He is not
be on the roster
He will
soon
not
there.
be on this roster. If he is, they're in serious trouble. I don't get these. When I say they're terrible, sometimes when I say they're great, maybe or maybe not. When I say they're terrible, I'm never wrong. Ever. David Lee. David Lee's the only one.
You love David Lee. Are you at all worried about Draymond? his shoulder.
Yeah,
You've been forecasting the body issue.
Yeah.
Like, at some point it'll
He's
start
gonna
declining.
wait. Yeah, I mean, I just think what they're doing here is they want to make sure that he's playing 60 to 65 games, and they're enforcing it. If you've got a little bit, I think he could have played the last few games, but they're just saying if you've got a little thing, you are not playing because you've played 100 games a year for 3 straight years. You played
Plus
in the Olympics.
yeah.
And we know, and he's 6'6", maybe playing 7-footers down the stretch, and he's all over the floor. And we know the intensity level that he brings. I just think they're saying no matter what, we're going to make sure you're sitting a couple weeks a year, a month a year, just to maintain that you're not on the edge here, and so you're not available for rounds 2 and 3 of the NBA playoffs. I just think this is, and again, and yeah, is he the guy that maybe they're looking at most for this? Yes. And is he a guy when he gets to 32, 33, you're going to really wonder, and maybe even when he gets to 30? Yes. But for this season, for this moment, I think it's mostly maintenance, where they're going out of their way to make sure that he's feeling fresh heading into March and April and May.
I think this is part of Draymond kind of recognizing that there's another contract coming. Mm-hmm. So I remember talking to Draymond one time, and he was telling me they're trying to make me sit out. They're trying to make me rest. This is like a couple years ago. He's like, they think I'm resting. It was like Lakers, and then it was Denver. It's like they want me to rest those 2 games. And he played the Lakers game. He was like, I told you, I'm not sitting out. I don't know why they think that I'm going to sit out. And then he ended up sitting out the Denver game. I think Bob Myers just stepped in and was like, you're out. But he's like fighting with them about not resting. And I think now he's like, yeah, this is like I'm trying to extend this thing. I have another contract coming up. I'm going along with the program.
And he's not 23, 24
yeah, he's not
anymore.
Yeah, now
that's a big deal.
He's got kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now it's like hearing him talk today and kind of say, I tried to play, but hey, this is a program. It is what it is. And he told me he's okay. Like, it's not a big deal. Yeah. He said it's not anything to worry about. But I think he sees, all right, it's time to get on the body tip. In 2 years, I'm gonna be 29, approaching 30. He's going to want a huge deal. Most important, like, if he wants to stay here, he's going to have to show, like, he can be the Draymond beyond this contract here. And I think for me, it feels like Draymond is saying, all right, I'm with this program because this is how I'm going to last longer.
Absolutely.
And the longer I play, the more money I can get, right?
Absolutely.
And so,
and the more years he can play with this group.
Absolutely, with this group.
If it falls off the cliff for him, and there were games where you didn't look real good for him, and he's not shooting the ball. If he can't score, they may not only like give him a ton of money, they might start looking for another player in 3 years, because they've got. We know Joe Lickabon, all he's talking about is, we're always looking for improvement. We're always looking for different players. We're always looking for getting younger. So I just think it's a level of play. Maintain a level of play. Be the same Draymond in the playoffs. And I think he gets that too. And he gets that. They love him. They love him. He's done so much for them. If his level of play falls off in the playoffs, they're going to start looking for other players.
I wonder how that can work, though. I mean, can you really get rid of Draymond?
Yeah, well, I mean, again,
it's
3 years.
Green.
I know, it's 3 years from now.
So they're like, dude, we can't make this hard decision, so I need you to be balling.
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's a big if Steph's like going, you're signing this guy,
right.
All the stuff that we just said might go out the window. But if you're Draymond, you don't want to set up the question. You don't want
to eliminate it now.
They're like going, well, you know what? I mean, if they've got to make some hard decisions, they've made hard decisions before. Now, Harrison Barnes and Andrew Bogut are not the same as Draymond Green, but they have made some decisions in the past. This is not an organization that sit there going to say, we're just going to re-sign everybody. Aubrey Huff, here's another 3-year deal. Marco Scudero, here's a 3-year deal. That's another organization. That's not this one.
Scudero.
I don't know. The name popped in my head for some reason.
But him not playing the Kobe game, that's where I was like, either A,
although
he's
he
really
showed
hurt.
Up, he showed up.
Of course, he was there in a double-breasted
nice,
suit.
Looking nice.
Like, look at CEO Draymond.
Exactly.
But he loves Kobe. Yep. Loves Kobe. I thought him not playing that game, he was either more hurt, like it was serious, or he's really buying into the rest program.
Yeah.
Because there's no way he doesn't play that game. With everybody, all those people there, you know he wanted to play it, and he loves Kobe. He wanted nothing more than to hit back-to-back threes and turn around and talk to Kobe.
And hug him.
Yep, that's
he
wanted that.
He ended up hugging him. But you know what? He's playing Christmas, though. So
You're right.
he wasn't going to miss that one.
Yeah, I'm not missing both of these games, right? Give me one, Christmas or the other one.
It's a maturity, too. It's a maturity. I just think that – also, I think Draymond's big enough in the game, and he knows he's big enough in the game that you can miss a moment like that. Now, he still was there. Camera still got him. But it's not like, oh, I forgot that Draymond Green's in the league. People know that Draymond Green's in the league. Him being really good in the playoffs is only going to underline that more. So it's a long game, and it's harder for players that competitive to play it. But like we talked with Steph, they want to be with this team and be good with this team for as long as possible. They all, Laker wants to maximize this. Myers wants to maximize this. Kerr wants to maximize this. But Curry and Durant and all these guys want to maximize because this is a special moment in time. And you don't want to do anything that trips it up or cuts short your time with this, because this is never going to be repeated in their careers anywhere else. This may never be repeated in Bay Area sports. So don't screw it up. And I think a lot of them feel that responsibility.
I mean, you've been doing these Christmas Day, the big ones, for a long time. What was your Christmas Day? Did you grow up watching Christmas Day?
Not really. I didn't really. I mean, until I started covering the Lakers, I didn't because
that's when it kind of didn't. It feel like that's when it became next level.
Yeah,
thing?
there's all this conversation about the old Celtics playing them. I just don't remember that.
I do remember Knicks Bulls Christmas Day. I remember Trent Tucker. Remember the Trent Tucker game? It was like a crazy. They came up with the 3-second rule. I think
because he had the.
I think that was a Christmas Day game.
It
wasn't Kobe Shaq.
Yeah,
right. It
wasn't like, oh, we know this game's coming. It just didn't feel like that. So when I started covering the Lakers in '99. It just was Shaq, and there's always this thing that Shaq didn't want to play on Christmas, or it just was one of those. That's where it became part of what I knew the sports world was shaped by. But before that, I knew the Bulls would play on Christmas with Jordan. I mean, you knew it, but it wasn't that big a deal. But as the NBA's gotten bigger and the personalities have become more important, now it's the launching point for the NBA. It's when everyone knows the NBA starts to mean something, and the NBA's smartly, as the NBA is smartly played that up, and now. It's the game. It's the moment. These games are what everybody's. Oh, well, you got to watch these games. That didn't used to be like that.
It was that when Shaq was in Miami, and it was Lakers, Miami, and it was the Kobe Shaq thing, and then it became must-see TV.
Yep.
I mean, we used to watch. We watch the games and then go play hoop on Christmas, because that's how we do it in California on Christmas. We go play basketball outside. We go play basketball outside on Christmas. But now it's become this thing where Steph is trying to make it back. Draymond is back. Like, it's gonna be a big deal. I don't remember it being that.
I don't. And plus, it has Warriors. We just didn't know. We didn't feel it because when we were growing up, there wasn't that.
I remember the Warriors' first game. I remember it was the Blazers, and they got the night game. I was gonna be right. They got the night game because it was like the last game on TNT for Christmas, and the Warriors were so happy about this. They were like, we were in the Christmas day. It wasn't that long ago, but it feels like an entire era ago.
It is like 2 eras ago.
I know Mark Jackson was called like 2013, maybe 20.
Is that what it was? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was a big deal though. They got the game. It was the last game of the night. Warriors. It might have even been Clippers. I just remember they felt like, we made it. Like we're and now they're like the number one show. Yeah, they're playing. Are you coming to that game?
I am not going to that game. You are.
It's a noon game. You can make it.
I got to edit the site on Christmas, so that's what I'm doing.
Oh, that's right. There's a football game.
There's football game. There's a lot of things going on. So no, I cannot go to that game.
Whatever, editor-in-chief.
What am I doing?
I'll be there. I will be there. All right, Warriors Plus Minus. Thanks for joining us. Until next week, we are out.
See you.